Good afternoon from the UK, and I'm guessing good morning from New Jersey over in the US of A. I'm delighted to be joined by Elias Garcia, who we're going to talk about you and your writing and touch on your book a little bit. Next time we will be back, hopefully in the new year, to talk about your book more specifically with an audience. But at the moment, it's just the two of us chatting about you and how you got started. So we will start with that. Howie, can you remember? Have you always been writing? Because in your biography it says you've always loved and enjoyed writing and books. Can you remember how you got started and the first thing you wrote?
Yes, I can. Back in my days in elementary school, I was never the most playful kid. So I always wrote down in a journal. Whenever a teacher gave us creative writing task, I wrote something. But the first thing I ever remembered was writing a story about a superhero.
Nice.
But as a kid, I always had a fascination with superheroes, and I can't remember exactly what the story was, but I remember it was a superhero had the power of rocks, and
Okay.
at that at that point, I just kept writing, and for my whole life, every time I had a writing class, I looked forward to that class. Um, but they kind of make me feel like an outcast because a lot of kids in my class hated writing,
Right.
and they called this, and they said I was, a little off because no, they didn't know I was diagnosed with autism and all that. But honestly, I don't really. I'm just grateful I have what I have. I loved writing my whole life, and I still write like even tiny stories to this day. Even while I was writing the book.
Mm-hmm. So, do you write? Are you? I'm guessing that you're no longer in school. Do you write before you do work? Do you write before you go to work or to college or? And then
Um,
when do you write?
I I write whenever I have free time, whenever it's after school or after work or hell during my break at work, I bring my computer just so I can write something. That's so I can
Okay.
write more pages in my story or write something unique or a poem or something.
Mm,
Any opportunity I have, I usually take it.
yeah. And talking about because we'll obviously talk about your book in a moment, but are you a DC or a Marvel fan, or do you like them both? Because some people are
uh,
kind of one camp or the other. I love them both, but
I'm I'm the same. I love them both.
right.
DC and Marvel. DC recently has been doing a lot better in terms of stuff, but Marvel movies have inspired me mainly Spider-Man, mostly the Spider-Man films and the Blade films. I
Okay,
love
yeah,
those
yeah.
films.
Wesley Snipes.
But DC, Batman, Superman, but honestly, my personal favorite will always probably either be Shazam or Blue Beetle.
Okay. Do you have a, you mentioned
Those guys,
Spider-Man. Do you have a favorite actor who's played Spider-Man?
uh, if we're talking in terms of the live action movies,
Mm.
it's Andrew Garfield. But
Okay. Yes.
if we're talking about the all the Spider-Man movies, it's Shamik Moore as Miles Morales.
Okay.
He's my
Yeah, so
favorite.
it's is it still Andrew Garfield now? No.
It's Tom Holland.
Oh, that's Tom Holland. Of course it is. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So you obviously you have a history of loving superheroes, which inspired your writing. How did you start? How did you decide what to write about?
Um, well, I noticed, for me personally, I noticed in the media that there's not a lot of superhero families. Yes, we have popular examples like The Incredibles
Yeah,
and
I love
even
Incredibles.
amazing movie.
Yeah.
And we have some shows about that, but I never really noticed like there's never really a team. There's like a team like that's like constantly saving the day and being doing family stuff like that. It's
Hmm.
usually just like it was The Incredibles, and I'm sure there are more. But from what I've seen, I figured why not make a story about brothers who are superheroes,
Hmm.
and of course they're inspired by my brothers. Um, Hudson, Ethan, and Charles are inspired by my brothers Hector and Carlos, and
Hmm.
Ethan is inspired by me. They're not us, of course, but they're meant to be like
Yeah.
characters who have some of our traits. I took inspiration from my family, basically. And I
Mm.
figured, what better way to do that than make a superhero story about them?
Yeah. It's lovely to see your family in your background. You have your photos up there
Yeah,
behind you.
that's
Do they
yeah.
read what you write? They're
Yes, they
obviously
do.
very supportive.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. My mom was the first one to read it. My big brother had to read it. He did it late, but still he did it. My little brother Carlos read it alongside my mom. My grandma currently bought a copy of the book, and my
Yeah.
mom bought a copy. She's spreading it around her job. Yeah, they support me.
Yeah. Lovely. Lovely.
I have a
And
very
do you have other people to help you with? Because when we were talking about once you've done the writing, do you have other people that will read it and give you feedback and help you with the editing of it?
in terms of editing, I'm my own editor. I know my
Hmm.
flaws of my own text, and I usually am like I have to proofread. I proofread that book like 4 times before
Mm.
even thinking, yeah, this is good for publishing. And but in terms of people who give me criticism, I have a lot of people. Like I mean, my family does are supportive, but they're also very critical. So they want
Okay,
me to
that's good.
write the best story I can.
Sure.
They point out my grammar errors and all that stuff.
Okay. No, that's brilliant. We all need somebody. Yeah, my day job is an editor, but even I have an editor. So it's always good to have a second pair of eyes because they might suggest things. Oh, I really like this, but how about
Yeah.
you do this, which is really useful. So
Oh, they've definitely done that.
yeah. And who did your cover for you? Did you do that
Oh,
as well?
that no, I did not do the cover. That cover art was done by the amazing. I can't pronounce the name, but I'm gonna show it. It was done by
Okay.
Yogi Fahami. Sorry if it's backwards.
Yogi. Okay. Riandito. Okay.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
okay, I
Okay.
hired them. I saw their wonderful art. They were nothing but professional and really graceful, and I thanked them for this because I was going to draw my own
I
cover
was
art, and that was
okay. I
that
was
is
going to ask you if you had a copy that you could. Obviously, the picture is there on this page, but yeah.
yeah,
So you
but
have it in.
like
Is that hard? That's hardback.
yeah, it's hardback.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
paper cover one, but I don't. My mom has it right now. She's trying to spread it around the job, so
Okay.
like
Sure. Okay.
but it wasn't for him. I wouldn't have this wonderful art that
Mm,
encapsulates what I wanted to see in a book
mm,
cover like that.
mm. And will they be quite similar? Because obviously this is the first of a series of three, more than three. Oh, do you know how
More,
many
a
there'll
lot more
be?
than three.
Okay.
Um,
So you
Top
haven't
13.
planned. 13.
Yeah,
Wow.
I have the plot planned out and everything. I know how the story's gonna go,
Okay.
especially where it's gonna end.
Okay. Overall.
It's
Yeah.
technically 12 because book 13 is entirely an epilogue, but
Mm.
it's mostly 13.
Okay. Because J.K. Rowling did the same with Harry Potter. She sat in the cafes in Edinburgh, working out exactly what happened from start to finish. Do you have how much of a plot do you have for each book? Because there's a saying that people are either plotters or pantsers, so they get an idea for a story and then fly by the seat of their pants. Are you one or the other or somewhere in between?
I would say that I do have a plot planned out for each book. Each one has a huge structure plot that's going to lead into the other, but they're still going to be standalone as well. So if you do
Mm.
pick one up, you can still follow it without having to read the others.
Sure. And do you find when you're writing that things happen that you hadn't expected? Maybe characters take because I'm a writer as well, and I know that even if I plan something, I get to a certain point where not necessarily the character tells me what they would prefer doing something differently, but there are other when I come to it, I think, well, actually, it would be better if this happened. Do you find that, or do you find that it does stay pretty much to how you planned?
Plans do change, yes.
Mm.
Most of the time, how even when I'm writing a sentence, like no, maybe they should say this. It'd be more dramatic. Or it would make much more sense if this character said this rather than this character saying
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that happens a lot, especially here. This is
Okay. Yeah. Because I think it takes the fun out of it if you plan too much. Because there are authors like Frederick Forsyth, who apparently does a 400 page outline of his book, which is pretty much a book. And then you think, well, surely. it then takes the fun out of the discovery. Some people are totally discovery writers, where they are literally discovering new things all the time, which I think is the fun part of writing.
Yeah. Even though I didn't have a layout for the first book, the other book was when I thought I could make a series out of this because I love writing these characters. The first
Mm,
book was that it was just me thinking like, oh, this would be cool. This would be cool if this happened.
yeah.
And I thought, and then eventually I did edit it, of course, to make it a coherent narrative. But I still thought, oh, this is just I made the first book mainly for fun, and I
Okay.
now am just in love with the fun I did.
Yeah. Do you have any minor characters in the books you've written so far that you think might make become a main character later?
I don't want to say because there might be
Okay.
a spoiler, but
Okay.
there is a character
Okay.
I do love that will be featured in future books I'm already writing.
Okay. Because there's one in mine, that one up there, the top one, that's a two-in-one book, where I have a kind of a cheeky, this sort of the bad guy's right hand man. I loved writing him. He was my favorite character, which I shouldn't really say because he's not the main character, but he was one of my favorite characters, and so I'm kind of tempted to then to give him his own story and bring him back and something else.
I definitely feel that. But if I could pick a favorite character, it's my the mentor character, Avalor.
Okay. Is that like your Gandalf effectively in Lord of the Rings?
A bit of a mix of Gandalf and a mix of what was that character's name? Peter B. Parker and Spider-Man across the Spider and Spider-Man to the
Okay.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So you are clearly, other than the support of your family, you are clearly a one-man band for marketing, for getting people to know that your books exist. So how are you finding that process? Because when
Um,
you're self-publishing, it's tough, isn't it?
it is. It is.
Mm,
Getting getting yourself published is both a blessing and a curse because you get to do what you're your own boss, but the problem is you're also your own boss. So like, because then you gotta like make flyers. I've made flyers. I put it around my school and my job.
mm,
I've paid Amazon ads. I've went used all my social medias, Facebook, Blue Sky, to and LinkedIn to market all the stuff I have, and it seems
right.
to be working. I made some decent sales for my first
Yeah,
week,
brilliant.
and
Because it's not been out long, has it?
yeah, it hasn't been
Not
out
been.
long. It
No.
just came out recently,
Okay. That's
but
brilliant.
I made some sales though. And it's also thanks to word of mouth because I've been talking
Yes.
about it a lot of people I know, and every time I don't try to force it in a conversation. I try to make it flow naturally because
Mm,
I don't want to say, "Hey, buy my book whenever it's out." Like I don't
yeah.
just put in people's face like, "Hey, buy
Exactly.
it, buy it,
Yeah.
buy it." Like
Exactly. That's really why these first sessions are about you, because when you're on social media, there are so many people saying, "Please go and buy my book," that really readers want to get to know the person. I think this is why newsletters are so popular, because readers want to know the person behind, the author behind the book. And then if they're interested in them and interested in the story, then they'll go and buy the book. So
yeah,
how
I
how
agree.
much how much have you written so far? So obviously this one's totally complete. How far have you got ahead so far?
I'm already on the third book.
Okay.
I'm on the third book, and I'm already like 20,000 words in.
Okay. Brilliant.
Um, I wrote the second book, but it's gonna be a lot of editing. If I'm gonna try and get if this first book at least does okay, I'm gonna try and
Hmm.
hire an editor too, because editing the first book that's how why it took me so long. Because I wrote this book like
Oh.
a year ago, I finished it a year ago, and
Mm.
like the other half of it came out this year because it took so long to edit.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
I absolutely know that, and I don't know whether you enjoy your editing process, but I'm not a fan of editing my own. I'd much rather just write it, give it to my editor and move on. Or do you enjoy it, that part of the process?
sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I really
Mm.
do wish that I had an editor. Now with the book being out there, maybe I can like get someone to hire an editor. You know?
Mm. Hmm. Yeah, I think if you find someone, because obviously it's important for you to find a an editor who does your genre. See, I'm crime and women's fiction, and they're the genres I tend to specialize in, and I know how the book should work effectively. Where so it might be worth if you know other people who've written similar books, or at least in your genre, you could find out who they use as an editor, and that might be an option. I know there are authors who find them on Fiverr, but
I,
it's a bit of a murky pond. Um, and it depends. I mean, you want ideally an American editor as well, who knows
yeah,
your spelling and your phrases and your terminology. So, but there'll be someone. There'll be someone who loves you, and also if they love your book, if they're going to stick with you through a series, then if you can find a good editor who will work with you for the whole series, that would be great. And there'll be someone. I think you'll easily find someone.
I hope so.
Yeah. So what is next for you? So you're working on the third one. Have you? I mean, this is probably an unfair question because you've got maybe at least another dozen, more than that, books to go. Do you think you might? Do you see yourself writing something different in a different genre or a different series?
Oh, 100%.
Mhm.
100%, yes. I do really want to write. I'm currently writing a two things. I'm thinking about I'm in the middle of a new take on some calm, and
Okay.
I'm also writing a comedy romance.
Oh, nice.
I, I just don't want to be just the Mighty Chronicles. Even though I love the series, I don't want to
Mm,
be just the guy. Oh, you're the Mighty Chronicles guy. I want to be you're Elias Garcia, the author. Like, um, I I'm hoping that maybe that people don't just know me for this book,
mm.
but I want people to know me for the other stuff. Those are taking much longer because I am writing out of my element, but I am still trying.
See, I write because I edit crime and women's fiction, and so that's what I write as well. And I think it's nice having something that's completely different. So the fact that you've got fantasy and comedic romance and light-hearted, again, effectively, you've sort of got. I'm not saying that fantasy is dark, but you've got the contrast there between two genres. So I think if, and certainly if you have two books on the go, if you get stuck with one, but it sounds like you know what you're doing with the your first series, so you may not get stuck often to then move on to the other one.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Anything else you'd like to share with us? What do you do when you're not writing and going to college and work?
Honestly, most of my time is spent writing. I love writing. It just it brings out something great in me. But when
Yeah.
I'm not, I mostly watch movies with my family. We usually like go to movies and we just talk about them. We discuss them. Uh, we do a lot with movies.
Yeah. Us too. We have a season ticket for our local cinema, and so it makes us go because then we're not paying too much, we're just paying a flat fee, and we can go to movies that we wouldn't necessarily pick. We'd think, oh, well, it's not costing anything. Let's go and see something a bit weird, and we like weird, so it's usually a good call.
Yeah, I go for the weird option, never the normal one,
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for taking time out of your day. And they say, I mean, I hope this becomes your career. And they say that if you find something you love, you never work another day in your life. So we look forward to a long
Yeah.
and illustrious career, and a chat with you in the new year, hopefully, at some point next year. And we'll do a deep dive, as the saying goes, into this book with an audience. So thank you, Elias. It's been lovely
Yeah,
chatting
and
with you.
thank you.
You're very welcome. Very,
And
very
thank you
welcome.
as well for seeing me. It's just like I'm so glad I get to promote this, and thank you also for like taking time out to listen.
Oh, you're very welcome. No, it's been a pleasure. And we'll chat again soon.
It's been a pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully, have a wonderful day.
Thank you.